Bye.
Welcome back to another NRG, this time on the Game Boy. The original black and green, different green Game Boy. Different kind of green screen. It's not really the green screen the Amstrad I'm used to. But and anyway, it's black and white, monochrome, whatever. This is R-Type 2, Irem seminal classic sequel to the original classic, of course. And this is the Game Boy version. Now, much like nice little intro sequence here, I must admit, it's got a great presentation, I must admit. It's got a nice little intro music there with the Irem logo shooting in, and the title screen's very nice. The music's very good. This nice little intro screen, very unique to the Game Boy version. It's like a twist on the original launch sequence from the arcade, and Super R-Type on the SNES did a version of that takeoff sequence as well, which you don't get with the original game. And you've got a nice rendition here of the first stage theme, which is pretty nice. Unfortunately, it does go a bit out of tune here and there, which you'll detect that. And of course, like many of the versions of R-Type across all the home ports, to be fair, there's a considerable amount of content obviously cut out of the game. Most notably are the weapons. Many versions, including Amiga ST and stuff like that, omitted the different weapons, the additional weapons that R-Type 2 gave us in the arcade. There's this little bit here with the Baidu divers, that's good there, nice. The guns on this bit appear to have been missing, and of course we're cut down to just three little narrow moving things. The parallax scrolling is there, and it's kind of nice for the best part, even if it is a bit jerky when it gets busy on screen. When there's a lot of things going on screen, yeah, it gets a bit lots of flickering and slow down jerkiness on the scrolling. Everything seems to suffer apart from the music, which is odd. Your firing doesn't even seem to suffer, well, at least the frequency of it, and certainly the responsiveness never seems to suffer, but the movement and the speed certainly does. So we've got the air-to-air laser, the classic R-Type weapon, that's there. Reflective lasers, of course, missing a laser. There's another obvious cut out there. And of course, level 1 is considerably shorter than it is in many other versions, and including the 16-bit home ports. Considerably shorter. And there's a lot of the environment damage has been cut out. You can't really do a lot of the environment damage. There's the big rabbit Donnie Darko dude. Away he goes. But I tell you what, for what they managed to cram into the Game Boy, it's pretty good. Certainly very playable. I think you can live with all that flicker going on. There's a lot of flicker. It really kind of puts you off in occasion. And of course, all them special weapons are missing. Split laser and the etogram missing, but you've got the animation there with the wall coming behind you. And here he is, Dogceratops 2 with the big glowing eye. It doesn't seem to shoot though. The eye, which would normally shoot a big cannon out of you, a big laser ball, doesn't seem to do anything. But the animation of the wall closing behind you is kind of nice there, restricting your. And there we go. He's done. Not a great destruction sequence. That with just sort of dotting out down into the ground. That's not great, unfortunately. But like I said, they've got animations in there. They've got a little jet sequence in there. They've got the movement of the force going around. The movement of the craft when you go up and down is nice. You've even got some environmental movement here with the water. It's I think they've done a good job. They've really tried to do a pretty good job considering the restraints that you've got. And yeah, for the amount of content they managed to cram into it, I'm going to give it its dues for that. I kind of would have maybe preferred it to maybe do away with some of the more nuanced detail of the graphics, maybe go for a little bit more of a simpler look, and maybe that would have improved the gameplay somewhat. Less flicker, less slowdown, all that kind of stuff. I think this kind of thing would come out very clearly on the Game Boy, even though the Game Boy was obviously very ghosty and blurry sometimes. Everything is very well defined. The sprites are well defined when they're not flickering. Explosions are good when they're not moving around too much. There's a special weapon there. There's the air-to-ground laser, which is extremely effective. It's one of those weird weapons that not very effective in the original game, R-Type 1 or 2, but in this game, that laser is extremely effective because you're very constricted obviously there's not a lot of room to move around with the confines of the Game Boy display, and they've made the R9 fighter sprite rather large in comparison to everything else that's going around. If you compare this to the arcade version and the Amiga ST versions, for example, you'll find that the Baidu enemies are more on the scale of the size of your ship. It's an extremely large ship comparatively. But they do have the enemy bosses there, which is really good. They've got some big enemy bosses in here, which is good to see. I haven't skimped on those. They even got the mid-boss, I believe. Even got the pit. There's the pit, just appeared there above me. Not flickering like it does in R-Type DX on the Game Boy Color, which is nice to see. It doesn't flicker. Oh, that bloody nearly hit me. This guy, you can really only got to hit him at the top. But unfortunately it looks like yeah, it just scrolls past him. You see, the original version doesn't let you do that, then scroll past him like that. Nice colour difference between the water and the background there, and lots of heavy fire coming here. Ooh, it's getting extreme. And as you can see, it starts to chug a bit. It really does start to chug a bit. And another thing I've always found a bit weird about versions of R-Type on the Game Boy, not so much the first version to be fair, but on this and the DX version, which we'll cover in a later NRG, is that you don't appear to see how you're hitting the boss characters. Normally the boss characters would flash or something, pretty much obviously, and sometimes on this you can't really see if you're actually hitting them or not. There we go, it says flash in there, but sometimes you'll be hitting them and suspect collision detection. I think that's down to, oh dear, that was me not paying attention. Yeah. And you see some of the background graphics are a bit conspicuous of whether you can fly through them or not. Here, as you can see, the little spines sticking up. They are part of the background, but they do look like you can crash into them, but you can't. And of course, they've taken away the water for this final sequence of this boss. Of course, in the original, you're still in the water for this final boss, for the level 2 boss, should I say. Looks exactly the same though, an impressive sized boss with that weird phallic shaped eye thing flipping around in the middle. Gotta get down in the middle. Oh crap. You've got to change the way you play for this version of R-Type. If you're used to playing the arcade version and the other home ports, I keep talking about the other home ports, but it's a good comparison. You've really got to change the style of the way you play, because strategy-wise for some of the bosses is altered dramatically. This, I mean, you've got so little room to move around for this boss, you can't really play the tactics that you would normally do for this boss. So you've got that little cubby hole at the bottom there to hide in, and that's where I've got to hide. I've been trying to get down there for the last 2 turns. There we go. Hide down there. You hide down here and just take your time. Be patient, patient, patient. Nice, you know, lots of nice animation going on there for this big sprite. You got the super blast there. You got your pulse laser, of course, and then you got the super pulse laser. I forget what they actually call it. I always forget what I call. Come on! Gotta hit this guy quick. Ooh, move down. Oh yeah. See, lots of movement going on with this. It's an impressive looking boss. It really is. Like I say, for the constraints of the Game Boy, it's pretty good. So I think I've got a few more hits on this guy now. Hit him up there. Yes. And there we go. Boss 2 done. So yeah, it's pretty good stuff for the Game Boy. You wouldn't have been disappointed with this if you bought this back in the day. I wouldn't have thought. It tries to stick as faithful to the arcade as possible, given the limitations of the Game Boy, and it's pretty good results. The music is, I think, pretty good, considering it, even though it does go out of tune now and then. Yeah, for its limitations, it's a pretty decent shooter for the Game Boy indeed. So I'll leave it there. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on another video. Novabug out.